Hello, welcome to Layback with Betfair. I'm Tom Haylock with a special Melbourne Cup preview, and the two gentlemen to join me, David Pfundt from Form King, Adam Blencowe from Racing and Sports. We'll start with you, Adam. How are you, mate?
I'm very well. How are you? Melbourne Cup fever?
Yes, Derby Day is over, so we move on. We made it. We survived. No, it wasn't a bad day. I think you got the quaddie. You were on a Bucks party, Dave. How'd you fare?
My brother's Bucks. Yep. No, we safely negotiated the Flemington quaddie, which was well received.
Well done. It's always good to land a Derby Day quaddie. We head to Melbourne Cup Day on Tuesday. Perfect weather, Adam, as we look out of the forecast. 25 degrees, rail out 2 metres. How are you expecting the track to play?
Unfortunately for punters, I think we've got no excuses there.
No.
I think we can ignore the track and we can ignore the conditions and we can punt on. It's I don't think they're a factor at all. The track was perfect, really, wasn't it, on Saturday?
Played sensationally Saturday.
Really well. It wasn't lightning fast, but it was good ground.
Yep.
And I'm expecting much of the same. I mean, Flemington it's the best course in Australia, not just for the facilities and everything, but for the turf as well. It races consistently well. So I think we can go there and we can trust it.
We've seen Derby Days in the past where it has been inside fence and inside lanes, but wind played a bit of havoc, particularly early on Saturday on Derby Day, but 25 degrees heading into Melbourne Cup Day, can't wait for it. You see the track playing pretty fairly, Dave?
Yeah, beautifully on Saturday. Fine conditions, like Adam, just not going to pay attention to that.
Yep, perfect. Well, as we do with every layback with Betfair, we start with things that are grinding our gears and really pissing us off. And you have come off the long run. You should be tired and grumpy after a Bucks party. I'm expecting some good gear from you for the lay-bin. What have you got?
I've gone with the phone reception at Flemington on Saturday.
Again?
As an avid punter, I found it hard to get a bet on early in the day if I was anywhere near the members, and so I had to find myself down in the food trucks to get a bet on. But I did get there and we got the quaddie on, so that's in the lay-bin. I think maybe for next year, if they could look at the cells there, that'd be great.
It's happened every race day that I've been to so far this spring. We saw, you mentioned Grand Final Eve at Moonee Valley, massive crowd, yeah. Manikato night, huge crowds, reception's been poor. So that needs addressing, which is not good. Lift, agree. Sorted out. Hopefully, Cup Day. Big crowd on Derby Day as well, so maybe that had an impact. It was over 80,000, which was great to see. Racing is back, Adam. It is back.
Was it ever gone?
Well, that brings me to your lay-bin. Great segment. Was it ever gone?
Racing was never gone. Racing evolves, and yeah, that is my lay. I'm off the long run as well.
Good.
My lay is the racing, or particularly the Melbourne Cup, Derby Day, the Melbourne Cup, whichever one you want, that the race is gone. The race isn't what it was. Those spicy hot takes, mostly from old blokes, and they're the ones who aren't what they were.
That'll be us in a few years.
That's my spicy
That'll
hot
be us
take.
in a few years, Adam.
Yeah, exactly. And I am a grumpy old man, and I see the irony of me complaining about people complaining.
Oh, nothing better. So you don't like it?
I don't. The race isn't what it was. I'm not saying the race is what it was. It's changed. The race evolves. But
has it changed for the worse?
There are things we all have nostalgia, and the Melbourne Cup maybe brings back some of that nostalgia, but the Melbourne Cup is a unique beast, and it still plays its same role. It's a party race. It's our celebration of the punt. It's our celebration of the great game, and it is still very much that. And so certain things about it have evolved and have changed, and, I wish every Melbourne Cup was protectionist Melbourne Cup for my back pocket anyway.
Yeah.
But they can't stay the same, and you have to move with it, and the race moves with the times, I think, and it still remains a unique beast. As I said, it remains our party piece, I think. So it's got a touch point with the past, and nostalgia is great, and I get that. But I think we need to enjoy the Melbourne Cup that we have here today. I do hope that this doesn't become the era, and the Melbourne Cup has had a lot of eras, but I hope this isn't the era of the CT scan. I don't think that would be my favourite era. So there are things that I'm concerned about, for sure, but I think there is plenty there to love. It's still the party of the punt.
We could put the Twitter vets in the lay-bin, all those that... Jan Brugel, the early favourite, scratched during the week, didn't pass the vets. We could put that in the lay-bin. But just a question on Melbourne Cups. We've seen them come a long way. Are they better for the internationals running? Are they worse? If we go back 30 years, is a Melbourne Cup... Everyone's saying how weak this Melbourne Cup is potentially. But the internationals are bringing very good form over. They've been here. They've done it before. Is it a stronger race now than it was 30 years, and it's just nostalgia or people that are stuck in that old mindset that think the past is better?
There is a clash of opinions there where there is a complaint when we get a year like this year, which might be a little bit softer. On the figures, it is a bit of a softer year than maybe the last couple. It doesn't have the star power at the top, perhaps, and so there's complaints that the standard isn't high enough. And then there's a complaint that the internationals are coming here and they're too good.
Yeah, so it doesn't...
So there is a bit of a clash there, yeah. And With the fly-in, fly-outs, I agree there's probably a tipping point there, but I think the idea that we don't get to know these horses and these sort of things is a massive... I don't think that's a massive issue for a lot of people, and particularly the people we tend to talk about. So your nerds can get into this stuff, it's all televised.
And you are a nerd.
I accept my role as a nerd.
You've got that covered. So you're going to cover the internationals really well for us. You've got the figures and the data for us. And Dave, you've got all the locals covered. So we've got a good blend. I'm just here to steer the ship, and hopefully I do it well. Before we get into that, I just want to touch on my Labian. Halloween. Don't like it. I don't know where you guys sit on it. We're not America. We're not the US. We don't need a copy. Kids can just eat healthy.
All those blokes I just put offside with their Melbourne Cup isn't what you've just got them back on
Correct.
side with Halloween. Get rid of it.
The grumpy old men are back. So,
they're back.
Just want to mention a few markets at Betfair. Obviously, we've got a really strong set of markets heading into the Melbourne Cup, and we've got top 3, top 4, top 2 finishes, money back, cashback second markets, A versus B markets. So we've got some head-to-heads. I want to read these markets out for you, see if any of these strike a chord with you. Vauban versus Buckaroo. Are you interested in that market at all?
Yes.
You are?
Yes.
Oh, good. Look forward to that. We've got Vauban versus Absurde, Willie Mullins pair there. Onesmoothoperator versus Sea King, the Geelong Cup versus the other cup, Bendigo Cup winners head-to-head there. So that's AVB 3. Kovalica versus Land Legend 2, Waller Train horses, about the same price. That's going to be a nice little head-to-head market. Zardozi versus Interpretation, and Circle of Fire versus Okita Soushi. So we've got a few head-to-head markets. Keen to get involved with those, Adam?
Yeah, I think they're great markets. I think they're a lot of fun, and they're sort of a good way to get involved there with some of these, particularly horses. I mean, there's only one winner. Obviously, there's a lot of big prices here, so there's a lot of low probability outcomes here. It's a good way to get a return, I suppose. I like playing these head-to-head markets in the golf. I do that quite a bit.
Yes, good.
Sort of, reverse engineering the win market back to the head-to-heads and seeing if you can find some little angles there. So to bring that over to the, and the Melbourne Cup lends itself to that with the bigger field. I think let's play.
The beauty of Betfair as well. So we should be able to find bets with every runner. We're going to go through every runner, but because you can lay. So you can lay in top 10 markets. If you think they've got no chance and they won't finish top 10, you can actually lay and put your money where your mouth is. So you've got, all the way down to top 10 finish markets. You can back and lay all of those, the head-to-head markets. It's all happening. Head over to betfair.com.au, and if you've got an opinion, no better place to play. Let's head to number 1, Vauban, and we'll read the markets out. He's currently $6.80, Buckaroo $7.20 at Betfair at the moment. Good price for Vauban, a favourite, very open race. He started favourite the Cup last year, Adam. What do you make of his chances heading into this year?
Yeah, so he started favourite last year and bombed out. So plenty of Australian punters will look at that and think, okay, this is, we've fallen for this once before. We won't fall for it again.
Yes.
And I suppose the big question for him is, what do we expect? What's different this year? Ratings-wise, not a lot, to be honest. So he came over last year, rated 118 on the flat anyway. He had slightly better form than that over hurdles, but on the flat, 118. I think it's his flat form. We really have to...
Yes, yeah.
We make, his case is made by his flat form, not his form over hurdles. He's rated 122 this year. So he's been a little bit better than that, and I love the sense of timing. I think Willie was sort of just flying under the radar early in the season. He has changed up the preparation a bit this year. Dave, you were talking before about the big track gallop last year and things. There was sort of, the preparation was a bit different, a bit more low-key this year here, but a bit more cranked up over there. So he's had 5 runs on the flat in the UK this season, whereas he only had the 2 flat runs coming across last year. And the trajectory is nice. As I said, he was just marking time, I think, for his first few runs there this season. Got to York, quickened up nicely on what was good to firm ground, which I like for him. And then last time, again, from the back behind a champion in Kyprios in the Irish St Ledger, really nice splits, closing again on firm ground.
So great run.
Great run. And his closing splits are fast. He's closing off a slow pace, and despite that slow pace, it was the quickest Irish St Ledger in 10 years. So that tells you a little bit about for one, quality of the horses, high, and for 2, the conditions on the day. So I think that's a lot of why Mullins has Vauban earmarked as one for Melbourne. Is he's a quick ground horse and he accelerates. And strangely enough, I think for a Mullins hurdler, I'm going to sit here and say I think he wants a steady tempo and quick ground. I don't think he wants a 2-mile slog. And in fact, I think it's hard not to fall into thinking he might even be a little bit suspect at the very end of 2 miles. But I think this year will be a steadier pace than we got last year.
Well, let's talk about the speed map, and I'll probably jump the gun there, going straight to the favourite. I got excited, but let's talk about the speed map. And you mentioned how he might like the race run in terms of Vauban. How do you see the race panning out? And I'll start with you, Adam, before we get Dave's thoughts.
Yeah, so I mean, Just Fine looks your likely leader, and then there's a couple from out wide who have decisions to make, and I think Okita Soushi and probably Circle of Fire, maybe Land Legend, a few of those are the ones that might pull the trigger. I think Positivity's out there as well, and is another one with a decision to make, but they're horses with decisions to make rather than flat out. So you can, I mean, it doesn't always work like this, but it does look on paper like we could get, if not a steady gallop, at least steadier than last year, and I think they would have walked away from the barrier draw with Vauban pretty happy, wouldn't they, drawing where they did.
Yeah.
He just parks off the front handful. You would think he just holds his breath and hopes that they go at a steady enough gallop and then just let him rip. I think that would be the plan. It all looks pretty point and shoot for him on the map. So I think of all the major players, he would obviously be the happiest after the barrier draw yesterday.
Yeah. Tempo, David, you got a fast run race, a genuine or moderate?
Look, I've got weak on paper,
Yes.
but like we sort of said previously, that going down the straight the first time, they're all sort of jostling for positions. No one wants to be three wide around that big looping bend, and so I think it'll be standard, but I don't think they'll sustain a gallop, for 3,200 metres like last year, which they really did get along. And last year we saw the 2 milers come to the fore. If you look at the top sort of 6 or 7, they were all proven 2 milers, and so this year I think we'll see a bit of jostling for position. Out wide will be where the speed comes from, and I agree. Horses like Positivity, she'll probably go forward. Land Legend has a real decision to make because he did over race in the Caulfield Cup and went forward a lot further than previously.
Is the outside barrier for Land Legend a positive potentially because he won't get over racing and can just work into the race? Because he was dictated to a little bit the Caulfield Cup from the inside barrier.
He was, and he had to hold his position that day. And
the
then
was playing as well. Yeah,
that's it. And they didn't go. I mean, the Caulfield Cup was a decent gallop, but then they sort of backed it off a little bit, and he was just not comfortable. So yeah, he's got options.
Yep, great. Your thoughts on Vauban?
Yeah, I like him here as well. But look, I agree with what Adam said. They sort of wanted to make a statement last year. I think they sort of brought him down. It was very hyped. They had a great track gallop, and everyone was. He was soft on the day, though, I think, wasn't he, in the market?
Yeah, he was soft enough on the day.
Yeah, but he was...
Late he drifted quite heavily, which was surprising. He probably paraded a bit fresh and it was doing a bit wrong as well, and that may have led to the drift as well.
There was also, the stablemate was the biggest spruik in Melbourne last year as well, so that probably had some sort of impact there. I think there was, from inside the camp, there was a big Absurde push.
Yeah. Yeah,
and look, so I thought last year they were both good. Well, Absurde was a good run in the Cup, and I thought you really have to forgive a horse like Vauban, we've seen what he's done this prep. It's been a lot more understated, like you say. He was in the A form, really, in the Irish St Legend. So, you can't really use last year's Melbourne Cup as any sort of line.
Yeah. I think he's coming into the race, you mentioned ratings, I think he's actually coming in better form this year than last year. He started favourite last year. Everyone's saying this is a weaker Melbourne Cup and one of the weaker Melbourne Cups, and he's coming in better form and he's longer odds. So work that out.
Painting a pretty picture.
Yeah, I work that out exactly, because I know he's poor. I think he had excuses. Mullins has come here with a different preparation. I think he's learnt a lot from last year. I think he's, as you mentioned, drawn perfectly. I think he's the horse to beat, and he's a bet for me, Vauban. $7 currently. Where have you got him in your mix? Got him on top or around the mark?
Yeah, we're starting with a bang. He's the horse I'd be marking favourite. I think after the draw, I think he's sliding into that favourites role ahead of Buckaroo. Don't want to make too much of the draw, but I think that was probably a bit of a tipping point with the little concerns around Buckaroo and that pretty picture that you are painting about Vauban. I find my model anyway says there's a bit of edge in both of them, but my vibometer is very strongly towards Vauban of those two at the top.
Vibometer.
Vibometer.
Is that a technical term?
It is a technical term. I shouldn't probably trust the vibometer as often as I do.
Results
would dictate, but you've got to go with it. You've got to go with it. So vibometer is strong around Vauban.
Will he be in front of Buckaroo in the run?
I would think absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
if it's not, I would be very surprised. It would be either we'll be throwing rotten tomatoes at Buick, or it'll be a hats off to Super Joe.
And he loomed up last year too, and just wheel spun. He looked the winner at certain stages. But I've got him on top. You have him in the mix?
On top, yep, for me, yep.
Oh, across the board.
Wow.
There you go.
All right, shut it down.
Started with it, we're done. We're all with Vauban on top. $7 looks a great price for me as well. Let's head to number 2, Buckaroo. Had the flashing lights from the Caulfield Cup, a traditional form line leading into the Melbourne Cup. He was sensational there. He's been fantastic since he's been gelded. Draws barrier 21, Dave. Is that the concern?
Oh, not really for me in the Cup. I mean, Waller drawn wide's going to go back anyway, and I think, there aren't too many concerns for me with Buckaroo. He's proven this prep that he has taken another step. He did that. I think second up he won. He came through and won, and he was ridden on the pace there, I think. And we all sort of went, oh, Buckaroo. And we looked at the rating and we thought, oh, is that real? Then he backed it up again, and then he went to the Turnbull and backed it up again. Then he went to the Caulfield Cup and backed it up again. So I think that is the A sort of form. The Turnbull is the form race of the spring that's gone through to the Caulfield Cup. It's gone through to the Cox Plate with Via Sistina.
Yeah, that was a handy win.
It was a pretty slightly above average win.
Got the bob.
And so I think he deserves his place at the top of the market. I think he deserves to be he's the one to beat on ratings for sure.
Yep, that's interesting. So you're the locals who's got the form on the boards. Any concern 3,200?
I mean, he's never been tried at it, and so
where do you sit with that? Do you mark him down, or do you say he could be better? Where do you sit? Is it horses for courses?
I think you certainly can't mark them massively down unless unless they're not showing strong sectionals at the end of 2,400. And he was showing good closing sectionals in the Caulfield Cup. So you would be a brave person to say that he just will fail at 3,200. Yeah. So I think it's fair to just be neutral on it. Yeah. That's what I'm doing. I'm certainly not marking him longer for it. I'm just taking him on face value, straight back.
My concern, Moreira, barrier 21 up to 3,200 metres. If he'd had a suck barrier, and I don't like Moreira, I don't think he's riding incredibly well, Moreira as well at the moment, but that wide barrier just means he might have to cover ground and be found out a little bit. That's my concern. What's your take, Adam?
Yeah, well, I think that is the concern, and you're right. Joe's put a few horses lately, a couple of high-profile ones and a couple of less high-profile ones a little bit further back. I think he's defaulting to maybe two pairs further back than ideal of late. I think that is the concern with Buckaroo. I think the Buckaroo picture to me is very similar to the one punters faced before the Caulfield Cup. I think there was some niggle around the traps about him staying 2,400 in the Caulfield Cup and where he would get to in the run, and he got into an awkward spot. But he was the best run in the Caulfield Cup. He stayed the trip and he stayed it really well. So he walked away from the Caulfield Cup, I think, the moral victor. And on face value, he's as good a chance of staying 2 miles as pretty much all the locals, right? I think we talk about having a niggle on 2 miles. It's pretty much true for every single one of our horses because it's sort of an outlier trip for us. We don't run a lot of 2 mile
weird there's
races.
No 3,200 metre lead up for a Melbourne Cup.
Yeah,
okay, lead up's a 2,400 metre race.
But at the same time, I reckon if they put a 2 mile lead up on, no one would run in it.
That's very true. So that's very true.
So yeah, I think the task for punters is basically the same as the task they faced for the Caulfield Cup, albeit his odds are obviously bigger here because it is a race with far more angles than the Caulfield Cup. But you've just got to grit your teeth and cop that potentially tricky run and where does he get to and does he stay? They're concerns, sure, but he's the top rater by the straight numbers, as you say. He's the ratings horse, and I suppose I sit here as the ratings guy. I'm not gonna bag him, but he's stronger on the ratings than he is on the vibometer. That's for sure.
That's a good way to put it. So where is he in your numbers? Top 4?
Second, very close second favourite to me.
Right. Adam?
Yeah, he's at the top, but as I said, it's at the top on pure numbers, but my vibometer's a little bit cold. So I suppose you get...
So if they're the same price, your vibometer's leaning towards the toppy, and
I have them exactly the same price right up the top there.
There you go.
That's where I'm at. So I suppose to force a betting angle, or actually I show a bit of value on both of those, but to sort of force the race to be where I want it to be and to play the game how I want to play the game, you don't want to sort of get slavish to your models and to your numbers. So to play the game I want to play, I'll sort of take those two as, okay, these are horses that are at the top of the betting together, push one, find a way to play in this race. So I think I would rather personally be with Vauban than Buckaroo.
They're both backable prices around that $7, $7.20 mark.
Yeah.
Let's head to runner 3, Circle of Fire, Mark Zara on board. Sydney Cup winner in the autumn. Where's he in your mix, number 3, Circle of Fire?
Yeah, look, my note here is take on trust from the Sydney Cup. I mean, you couldn't use the form since that. It's not competitive here, and you could arguably mark him 200-300 to 1 on that.
Where's he at this campaign?
Yeah, on that recent form for sure. The Sydney Cup run was quite good. He put his hand up there as a horse that will run 2 miles and a horse that of promise. And so I thought, look, I'm not really interested in him in any way, but I just do have that sort of rating from the Sydney Cup being, he could run top 6 or something with that sort of rating.
Yep. So are you playing in a top 6 market with Circle of Fire or a top 10 market, or are you more?
I could play him top 10. I think he could run top 10.
There you go. He's definitely a stayer. We know that. He's got upside still. Just not sure where he's at, Adam.
Yeah, that would be the concern. The betting found him for the first time last start. I mean, I know he was 25 to 1, but if you sort of reverse engineer that to a rating,
Yeah.
he was. That was the first time this preparation that the betting said, okay, we think you can run something like your
That's
Sydney
just getting
Cup.
up in trip from the Turnbull.
So the betting was waiting for that, and it came when it was there and said, okay, that Sydney Cup run, we think that's real, and we expect to see that now. We didn't get it. But the Caulfield Cup, very different scenario to this, of course. It was on the testing ground. It was testing by that point, of course.
Yep.
I think they listed it as soft 6, but it was racing harder than that.
Definitely, yeah.
So it was a tricky scenario, and not his scenario. So you could be forgiving there. You could say, okay, the market expected something. The Sydney Cup run is real. It's not, we're not
Zara on.
You've got Mr. Melbourne Cup himself, Mr. Shadow Margot, Mark Zara aboard. So there's a little thing there. I think one of the head-to-heads, I believe, is Circle of Fire v Okita Soushi.
Yes.
Ma v Ma, out of form versus in form.
And which way heading?
I think I might play that market and play the out of form Circle of Fire, because I think his Sydney Cup win is better than Okita Sushi's Moonee Valley Cup win.
Yes, agree.
And I
You
think
feel the
there's...
Agree.
Feel the same? Yeah, good. That's nice.
That's good. We're all friends.
We're all friends. We're all on Vauban. We're all friends. I think that's a reasonable angle to play with Circle of Fire. I like backing Ma out of form rather than in form anyway. I prefer to back Ma to do weird things.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we're giving Circle of Fire a push. Might be one for the top 10 markets, and the head-to-head there with Okita Soushi as well. Circle of Fire, we've just got to overcome barrier at 24. Let's head to number 4, Warp Speed. Was about the same price in a Caulfield Cup as the one we just mentioned, Circle of Fire. The rain came might not have suited Warp Speed. I thought he would run better than that. He was beaten a long way, but I'm expecting big improvement here from Warp Speed. Drawn inside, I think he can be a lot more positive there, and the firmer track helps. Where's he in your calculations?
Yeah, I think we're going to be on the positive side here as well. So if we look at the history of the Japanese here, I think that's your first port of call with Warp Speed. Okay, where does he fit in? What have the Japanese done here? The Japanese have actually not been a positive betting play in the Cup.
Surprising, considering they Quinella the race.
Yeah, so they had their big moment there, and I had a look. If you had a sort of backed every Japanese runner to win $100, you'd have obviously collected and done well with Delta Blues, but by now you're chasing. I think you're something like 12-13% behind now, so you've got some chasing to do.
He could be
And
well up though.
Warp
Speed Lobs.
You would be. Does he look like the horse that will turn it all around? He does actually. He looks a lot like last year's horse Breakup ratings profile. If you go through historically and you go through all those runners, he actually has the same rating coming in as Pop Rock, so that's a positive if you want to spin it right back.
Oh, so it mustn't be that bad at Melbourne Cup if
He
he's
has
got the
good
same
form.
rating as Pop Rock.
Yeah, he has good form in Japan, and it's real form in Japan. But
And
then
it's staying form.
And
It'll
it's
stay all
staying
day,
form.
yeah.
And he's got that Caulfield Cup run big 0 sitting there, which takes some looking beyond. But this is we just talked about this with Circle of Fire. It was a bit of a nothing run. It was a horrible scenario for him, really, and this is a very, very different scenario for him. So if he was some chance, he's going to start bigger prices here, even not just in true terms, but in relative terms. He's going to start bigger prices here than he did at Caulfield, and surely his chance on quick deck over 2 miles at Flemington is better than it was on what was essentially a heavy track from a wide draw. I mean, Akira Sugawara runs at about 7% at home. He was in trouble, cast at Caulfield. This should be a little bit more straightforward for the jock. This should be a lot more in the wheelhouse of the horse. So I think backing him at bigger prices and with a lesser, the market sees him as having a lesser chance that he did at Caulfield. I think he probably has a better one. So he's a roughie, absolutely, yep. But I think he's one that I sort of talking about top 10 markets and things like that. I'd like to back him to overachieve.
I'm with you. I've got him. I'm backing him in top 10 markets. So I think he'll just lob in a perfect spot and be there because it would be a tough horse with a strong turn of foot to run past him because he's a winner over 3,600. Ran fourth, Group 2 over 3,600 metres. He stays all day. He just gets the map and the firm deck, and I think he'll be around the mark. Where's he for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a usable rating in my database for him, but I totally agree in that. I mean, we love horses that haven't run to form in the lead-ups because if they all ran to the numbers, it'd be a very vanilla market. And you know, so I think you get to choose your side with horses like him. And so I agree. I think he can run top 10. Firm track will suit. And yeah, I mean, Japanese 3,200 form is good form.
Yep. Let's move on. Probably the most divisive horse.
Here we go.
This is we might get some debate here. We've largely agreed. But number 5, Kovalica. He's won 6 from 24. Damien Lane, 53.5 kilos. Weird weight scale where you've got number 5 in the market carrying 53.5 kilos. Drawn barrier is 17. I don't want to talk anything. I'll wait for you guys to speak about Kovalica's chances.
I'm trying to read your vibe. I'm trying to read your vibometer now. Are you pro? Are you?
If he was trained by anyone other than Chris Waller, I would just pen him. But
he is.
Chris Waller Grand Finals scares me. He's a bit of a scary horse, but I also think if he was trained by anyone other than Chris Waller, it'd be 60s here.
I would take the 60s.
Yeah, I know you would. I know you would. If someone else trained it, would you be as confident, or is it Chris Waller factor? Why do you like him?
I like him because I think he's one of the best horses in the race, and his reputation, I know, precedes him a little bit.
Why is he one of the best horses in the race?
Because he runs faster than lots of the other horses in the race. That's the trick.
Still five horses beat him in a Cox Plate. He hasn't done a lot. I mean, he got...
So the Cox Plate...
I know it's an elite form reference.
So I've got my little fun facts around the Cox Plate. Here we go. So last 20 years, 6 winners through the Cox Plate.
Good.
Premier form reference, the market's expected a shade over 2. So we're tripling the market. So the market's underrating the Cox Plate. Why is the market doing that? I mean, I know it's a small sample. Maybe the Cox Plate's getting lucky. I'm going to bet it's not. I think this Cox Plate's a good race. That's my guess.
The Cox Plate's not a bad race.
Yeah.
There's a horse that came out of the Cox Plate a few years ago and romped in the Melbourne Cup as well.
Yeah. Who trained her? Yeah.
So,
and I dare say this has been a target.
She was a better horse.
She was a better horse.
So
he won't have to be very elegant. If he goes very elegant on Tuesday, it's going to be one hell of a win and one hell of a party.
And that was another 7-year-old mare, but a complete outlaw. Like, she travelled superbly there. It was Via Sistina-esque in a Cox Plate, the way that Very Elegant won this race. And that's why Chris scares me here with Kovalica. 3,200 metres. Explain that to me, because he hasn't been tried over anything. He won a derby over 2,400 metres, but he hasn't really been tested over the longer trips.
He hasn't been tested past 2,200 since then. Even when he went to 2,200, I think that is the one part of Kovalica's career where I'd say, okay, yeah, he was underachieving. He was out of sorts when he went to Queensland at the back of that preparation. Not this campaign, and I know the wins haven't been there, but every run this preparation really has been rock solid. It's been in the right form races. As I said, he comes through that Cox Plate, which is just El Primo for the Melbourne Cup. And even the way that Cox Plate panned out, it just looks pretty sweet to me. I think it's one of those, you say if he wasn't trained by Waller, he'd be any old price. If he wasn't Kovalica, I think he'd be shorter than he is.
Do you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if he didn't have this reputation, and also the truth is he hasn't done any winning. So had he knocked a win in there somewhere, I think he would be. Everyone would forgive him for the running on. He was the best horse in the Hill Stakes, for example. I mean, is that a win? He doesn't know he lost, does he?
Dave will mention nutrition very shortly.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, if you ran this race weight for age, where the best horses would undoubtedly come to the fore, he would be in the conversation for the top few.
So from a ratings perspective, he's right up there.
Yeah, I mean, he's not when I looked at the Cox Plate market, he wasn't a genuine... I didn't think he was a genuine winning chance with horses like Via Sistina in the race and Prognosis, but he is a good weight. He's a weight for age horse in a handicap.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But where do you sit with the 3,200 metres and the profile and the prep? Has this been a target all along? You reckon it's just a setup?
Oh, this is an old-fashioned Waller setup. He's been targeting the Melbourne Cup for 18 months, I reckon.
You reckon?
Yeah.
So he's won the Derby.
Been a fox.
He's won the Derby and he's just been aiming for this race.
Yeah, I reckon from that very day on, it's like, okay, let's not win for 18 months. Melbourne Cup 2024.
We'll get a
Here
price.
we come. We'll
get a price. So where's he in your numbers, Dave?
Yeah, he's right up there. I marked him $11. I think there's an edge in his price, and I love their head-to-head with Land Legend here because they're both Waller horses.
Yes.
I'm going to bet into this market. I'm going to win, and I'm going to get Wallet, and I'm going to win because they're both Waller horses. I can't get Wallet and lose.
You could get Wallet and lose here. You get a back Land Legend.
You can always find a way.
The head-to-head market and a Waller. Oh.
Yeah. No, he's a chance. He's a live chance.
$11. That's a big overlay. $25 at Betfair at the moment. That's huge.
We'll be betting.
That's a max bet. Gamble responsibly.
Definitely not max bet.
Definitely not. Well, you got a big overlay there at 25. So let's move on. Number 6, Sharp and Smart. A similar kind of record. Won 6 from 22. Kovalica won 6 from 24. Drawn barrier 15. Mick D on board. Comes off the Moonee Valley Gold Cup form where Okita Soushi won that race. Can you make a case for Sharp and Smart, Adam?
I think the glass half full take with him is that he's going to stay the trip. I think we're fairly sure of that. And his low mileage, since the Derby's there, I don't think we haven't seen him over a trip until the Moonee Valley Cup, and I think everyone would have seen that well-run Moonee Valley Cup, and he stayed strongly. If anything, he looked like he needed further than 2500 and probably Flemington suits. So I just don't think he's talented enough to win the Melbourne Cup, and I don't have a number that can get him to winning the Melbourne Cup. So I think he's a genuine roughie, but he'll stay past a few that don't, I think, and he looks like he's coming into the race at the right time to run his race.
Yep.
I'd be staggered if that was good enough, but revenge over Manzoice might be his greatest achievement in this Melbourne Cup. He can turn the tables on Manzoice from that Derby, and if you were looking to be on the good side of Sharp and Smart, it's probably top 10 markets. I think that's where you can that's your play there.
Yeah, $80 currently. Make a case for him.
Is there a missed opportunity for a head-to-head market between him and Manzoice?
We might be able to get one up.
Yeah.
Would you like that?
Let's do the Derby.
I'd love that. I'll probably have a bet into that. Yeah.
Which way are you going if we can get a market up for that?
I'll go Manzoice to go 2 from 2.
Okay, we'll move on. Just fine. Number 7 looks the leader in the race, currently $55. Jai McNeil, he knows a thing or two about leading and winning big races. Yeah. Any case for Just Fine?
No, I'm pretty neutral there. His case is the lead, isn't it? That's the trick in his kit bag, I think, is that he's the one who seems obviously, he'll go forward. He was ordinary around Moonee Valley, but we know he's better than that.
Let him won the Bart Cummings.
Yeah,
stuck on quite well there. Controlled the race, but he could easily control this race as well. Drop anchor and control the race.
But that is it, isn't it? That's the trick. He's got a trick. He'll play it, which is great. And if you like it, good on you. I'd be neutral to sell for me, but at the same time, he's one of those ones, if you're in the pub and someone's tugging on your coat and telling you, I really like Just Fine because he led all the way in the Bart Cummings and he's going to get a cheap lead, you'll hear worse cases than that.
Correct. Yeah, never knock anyone back in the leader. Yeah. It could be interesting to see what price he gets to in play this horse, because he's $50 now. If he jumps at 50s, could he get to $30 in play? And that might be less than his true price. It could actually open up a lay opportunity.
Back to lay.
Yeah, something like that, because he will find the front, you'd think. If he doesn't find the front, he's probably the 100 straight away. But if he leads, I'll be interested to see what price he is, Dave.
Yeah, that's interesting. And he's a Metrop winner as well. We have to give him the credit that he deserves for that win.
Yep.
That's a while ago now, though. In those 2 ratings that he put up that prep, they would put him sort of higher up the pecking order here if he were in that sort of form. I sort of felt he got away with one in the Bart Cummings. And I'm definitely on the side of sell.
Let's move on to number 8, Land Legend, Zach Purton, in my top 3 jockeys in the world. 3,200 metres might be the query for him. I know he won a St Ledger over 2,600 metres, but he only beat Cleveland there. His numbers in Australia are good enough to be competitive in a race like this?
Yeah, I mean, he debuted with quite an interesting number in Australia. I don't know what you guys had it, but I sort of looked at it. I didn't know the horse. It was his first Australian run. And it was an interesting race. He was at the back, and then the tempo came out, and they whipped round, and he stayed on. It was actually quite gutsy in the end. And so he came up with a rating at weight for age that was it was a stakes rating at weight for age. And I sort of thought the weights he would carry in a cup, that would make him competitive. And so that rating, sadly for him, is still his best number in Australia for me. And so even the Metrop was shaded by that. And so I really like him. He's a bit of a boyfriend of mine, but I worry about the way he behaved in the Caulfield Cup. The tempo was genuine enough. It wasn't too strong, but he did tug in that race, and Zach said he never settled. So, if he does that again here, can he finish off?
No. would be the answer.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, that rating is on the fringes there, the Metrop rating and the rating you're speaking of from the Ledger, and you're right about what he did in the Caulfield Cup, and that's not going to cut it here. But I suppose the positive is that he did it in the Caulfield Cup and he gave a master trainer a look at an obvious problem. So he gave Chris Waller a problem to solve, and he's probably pretty good at fixing these sort of problems. For what's been the target race, you'd have to say, all along.
Earmuff's first time?
Yeah, so and they might have changed some things at work and things like that. We've seen just Chris Waller, he can get him to crank at Flemington. So
and grand final day.
yeah, so there is I think that, again, I think this is your angle with Land Legend. If you want to be positive about Land Legend, your angle is that this is his day, and he's been close to the mark without being good enough to win a Melbourne Cup or even to win this Melbourne Cup. His ratings are below that.
So he needs a spike.
He needs a spike, but there's a whiff of it, isn't there? I've got him 22-1, I think he spat out on my numbers, which is about what he is. So once again, second Metrop winner in a row, just fine in Land Legend, and I'm splinters on both of them.
$20 at the moment. Where is he on the Vibometer? Is it a firm $21 shot or a soft?
It's a firm. It's a firm. I see a whiff of that little Waller factor there. I mean, you're playing with the strength. You're playing with strong connections there, aren't you? Zach and Waller, and a pretty good horse. You know, if that spike's there, he's sort of at base camp. He's close enough that if the spike does come, he's right in the game. So I think he's a good 20s shot.
Good way to put it.
Yeah.
There you go. Number 9, Willie Mullins, second horse here. Absurde, ran in the race last year. Thought he was pretty good in the race last year. He's coming in off a Chester win. How did that rate? He's drawn barrier 7. He's got Karen McAvoy on, who at least won 3 Melbourne Cups, 52.5. That Chester Stakes run rate well enough for a Melbourne Cup?
No, but with upside, he did it really well. So like Vauban, and again, I think this is why they're being earmarked for Melbourne, is he's a horse, he's on top of the ground and he quickens, and he did that at Chester. He beat a horse there who's been competitive with better stayers, and a course that's run 118 against better stayers, and he was much too good. So I have him rated a little bit lower than that, but obviously you can just quickly draw that line and think, gee, if he could beat a horse better than that, I mean, we've got him rated lower, maybe he is better, that sort of thing. So you could get him up to about where the market seems to think that he is. The market loves him. It loved him last year. It priced him up way in front of his numbers.
He was 15s into about 750 there.
He was
and
smashed.
Then he drifted a little bit late, but it was very firm and a good push for a Melbourne Cup. He was coming off an Ebor win. So I don't know if you've got ratings, because we saw the Bendigo Cup winner and the Geelong Cup winner come through this year's Ebor. I think they were in 6th and 7th.
The Ebor is cool again.
It is cool. He won the Ebor last year. Have you got a comparison over those two Ebors?
Yeah, so his Ebor winning rating was only about a length behind this year's Ebor. So it's close again. So similar to what we're saying with Land Legend there, where he's got ratings that are on the cusp.
Yep.
But he's probably going to need to go to another level to, well, certainly to win the Melbourne Cup, and also just to match the market expectation around him. So one of the things, he's clearly, in my eyes anyway, the understudy to Vauban. He's like Vauban light.
Yeah.
And so I sort of, when they get priced that close together, the more people, or the more strongly you could fancy Absurde, the more I want to take the leap of faith with Absurde running to a new peak here, the more I think this is just cranking my Vauban price in. They always have to move together. I know that's sort of an obvious take because they're stablemates, but they do it does sort of, in my mind anyway, work like that. So, like Vauban as well, he's not obviously better than he was last year. So the task again is fairly similar.
So $11 backing or laying that price. Top 5, top 3 markets. Any?
I'm against, and I did notice we had the Mullins off in the head-to-heads there. I was mucking around with my numbers and simulating away there on that head-to-head, and I make Vauban about 10s on in that head-to-head, and I think we'll be getting a much better price. So that's probably the way I'm looking. I'm a sell.
There's a push for you.
I'm a sell at that price, Absurde, and I'm going against the trendy. We want the other one. It's like the Selwoods. There's always a better one at home. No. The best Selwood is the best Selwood. The best Willie Mullins runner is the best Willie Mullins runner, and that's Vauban.
So we're laying Absurde there at the $11. Where's he for you, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I've only got the one data point, which is last year's Cup. His rating there was good enough, like you say. It was a good run. He ran, what did he run, 5th or 6th?
7th?
Yeah, 7th, I think.
And but that was a genuinely run Cup. That's a form race for sure. And he was perhaps a touch close last year as well, I think. So if he's ridden a bit more conservatively, like Adam, I've got him a little bit longer than the market. But like, I wouldn't be surprised if he ran a place. I mean, he can definitely be there at the end.
The money from last year's Cup, he stays all day. We know that. He's a winner over 4,000 metres. The money that came last year really interests me. I think he'll run a good race. I have Vauban or Vauban ahead of him, as we all do, but I think the $11 is about right for him. Let's move on to number 10, Athabascan. Drawn barrier 2, comes off a St Ledger win over 2,600 metres. That's the furthest he's got out to and won, but the barrier might give him a top 10 chance, Adam.
Yeah, again, I'm pretty big prices and a tricky way to play into the race. He's he won that Ledger and he won it nicely enough, but it's well short of the figure you spoke about that Land Legend produced winning the same race last year, and then that'll put a nice little neat bow on that hot take by saying he was well behind Land Legend the start before that in the Metropolitan. So, and he was smashed by Circle of Fire as well. He's probably going better than Circle of Fire, but I'd rather gamble on the one who's got the talent rather than the one who might be reliable.
Yep, $70 sounds like unders for you, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably about right for me, that sort of price. My first note was we'll run the 2 miles, and then I realised I probably wasn't looking for a horse that's going to be a genuine 2-miler. I know that sounds silly in a Melbourne Cup.
He'll get the 2 miles.
He'll
finish.
Get it. He's totally going to get it. But I might be looking for a horse with gears in this race. And
is that because you think it'll be a slowly run race and you still turn a foot? You see that, and that's the old saying of internationals, you need a horse with a bit of a turn of foot.
Gears and stamina is what I want this year. And so I just ended up riding, would need to spike 3 to 4 lengths from prior ratings, but I can't knock it at big odds, if you want to have something on it.
Yeah, it's hard to sit here and go, look, I'm hard against this 8, basically I'm tipping a 1 to 80 chance, so I'm
Yeah, correct. Well, let's move on to Knight's Choice, and it might be a simple no from everyone here or a lay in a top 10 market, but surely beaten 5 in a Bendigo Cup behind Sea King's not good enough in this race?
I can go first, yeah. No, it's a no from me. I couldn't back it in top 10. I probably couldn't back it in top 15.
Laying top 10, laying top 15, laying everything.
Yeah,
same.
It's surely not good enough. I mean, the couple of little figures there in Brisbane that might, if he was in that sort of form now, you might start to think you could back him in a top 10 market, but he's not in that sort of form now, is he?
Might be finishing last.
Is that a market?
Question.
Is that a market?
We might have to get one, yeah.
Find last, you get a bottle of whiskey for that, don't you?
Sweepstakes and stuff like that.
You might get a bottle of whiskey out of it. There you go.
Let's move on. Number 12, Okita Soushi, Kirima, Jamie Carr, great connections. Coming off a Moonee Valley Cup win. How did that rate, Dave?
Oh, it was a fair rating. I just noted here long odds last year. He was 150 to 1 Betfair SP, and but it does have to be mentioned. He's a Mars stayer. He'll enjoy the fast surface, I think, as well, being on that recently, and Jamie Carr appeals as well.
I think his unders at under $20, to be honest, but
is he under $20?
$18.50 at the moment. Yeah, I think that's too short for me. But if he stays there, I'll be a little wary because Kieran Ma grand finals. If the money's around the mark, he could produce a peak. Where is he for you?
Yeah, a bit of Ma Carr factor.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so career best, I think, last time. So he's beaten in the Cup last year, and until last time, probably not better than that. He's again, if you reverse engineer the SPs from the Moonee Valley Cup, well, he's just in the ruck with a bunch of horses that are much bigger prices than that.
Yep.
So you've got to be updating your view pretty strongly for that Moonee Valley Cup, and I think it was as you said, it's probably a Moonee Valley Cup from the middle of the distribution. Sure. It's probably not a particularly high rating one. It's not a bad one. It's just a Moonee Valley Cup, and just a Moonee Valley Cup inside 20 to 1. When it was sort of, I don't want to say an outlier because it's not a big enough spike for that, but it was career best. As I said, career best effort, but just in the thick of it. So I think the betting angle here, mentioned it before, is to take on the Ma horse that ticks the boxes with the one that doesn't, and back Circle of Fire, out of form Circle of Fire to beat the in form Okita Soushi.
Yeah, started 101 last year's Cup, bigger than that at Betfair actually, and ran 11th. So laying him again potentially in the top 10 at markets, Okita Soushi. Let's head to 13. Onesmoothoperator off a Geelong Cup win. It was a fantastic Geelong Cup win, beat Interpretation, so that form ties in through last year's Cup. Muramasa in third. Very consistent galloper, 51 kilos. Craig Williams is riding well, Dave.
Yeah, he is. Can I just quickly touch on Okita Soushi? Because as you were talking, I didn't want to interrupt, but he's into $11, 11 to 13. I'm just looking at the odds comparison right now. Okita Soushi is the market mover in the race.
Incredible.
So
we're still getting 18.50 Betfair. So
yes,
very interesting.
Across the corps at the moment, he's 11 to.
How good do the bookmakers have it?
Oh,
brilliant,
correct.
So all you guys have to do is pot him, and in he goes.
Correct. Everyone watching live has just piled in.
Yeah,
we potted him.
Onesmoothoperator. Yeah,
yes.
Look, that was a nice win. I think everyone looked at the other international in that Geelong Cup and thought, maybe Birdman would be the one to progress.
But plain Birdman.
Very plain, yeah. But no, Onesmoothoperator, he's a 2-miler as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he'll stay the trip,
Yep.
no problems. He's got plenty of miles in the legs
Won
too.
a synthetic race of a 3,300 a few starts ago.
Yeah, and in the Ebor, I didn't think was as good a run as Sea King. He was, they crossed the line pretty much together, and they've rated similarly since they came to Australia and both won the lesser cups. But yeah, look, I don't usually look at Geelong and Bendigo Cups as form for Melbourne Cup, but this year it's just that notch below. They're not far out of the frame.
How was based on that, they crossed the line together in an Ebor. Sea King's gone to a Bendigo Cup that's probably weaker than the Geelong Cup and started similar price. It was surprising that the money didn't come for Sea King after what we saw Onesmoothoperator, but we'll get to Sea King in a minute. But Geelong Cup form good enough this year, Adam?
It's the year for it, isn't it? And I think people will look back at Geelong Cups and think Media Puzzle, Americane, Dunedin, straight off the plane and winning there at Geelong and then buttering up at Flemington. And there was a big push for him off that Geelong Cup win, so people were quickly impressed. As you say, a bit strange that they weren't they didn't find the Sea King link, and yet the early markets went off after that Geelong win. Way too short then, and I think probably still fractionally too short now, a little bit too short now. He's rated below the 3 Geelong Cup winners.
That's good to know.
I mentioned there. The sectionals hinted that he could be a bit better than that. His profile probably doesn't. As you said, he won a Northumberland Plate at Newcastle and has been improving. Northumberland Plate's sort of like it's like a Geordie Melbourne Cup on the Syntho up there. So for the northeast of England,
like the big dance.
Yeah, it is. It's like the barn dance.
The barn dance.
Yeah. So he doesn't look like it on profile because he's had a lot of spins. So he's not low mileage at all, but. His ratings were heading the right way. He ran into Kalpana, who's a very good filly. He's beaten 7 lengths and ran a career best there just before he came here. Even beaten 7 lengths, that was a career best. And then another one there. But my angle with him is that the Sea King line, I think Sea King is a match for him for talent, and it has a better profile, has more upside on the profile there. We've seen a lot less of Sea King. And I make very little difference between their wins at Bendigo and Geelong. It's actually beautiful for a handicapper who does horses all around the world to see such neat tie-ins and to see 2 horses finish side by side in the Ebor, cross to the other side of the world and run identical ratings is just chef's kiss for the handicappers. So we're very impressed and we're very happy. But yeah, he's head-to-head in the Cups winners market. Yeah, and I think Geelong Cup has a bit. It's got a history of turning out Melbourne Cup winners, which the Bendigo Cup doesn't. If you look at the percentage of runners beaten from Bendigo Cups to the Melbourne Cup and the Geelong Cup to the Melbourne Cup, you'll find that the Bendigo Cup has been outperforming it, just not winning. It's probably too small a sample. I suspect that will regress to being about the same, but about the same. So I don't think there's any evidence that the Geelong Cup is some super platform that the Bendigo Cup isn't.
Yes.
And in terms of Bendigo Cup winners, Sea King is right up there with, I think, Francis of Assisi and Puissance de Lune are the other recent ones that have run that sort of figure, and they both went to Flemington, not in the Cup. But,
what was the race? McKinnon?
The Queen Elizabeth. And it was very hard, I think, as you watched Bossy shaking his head and carrying on down the Flemington Straight on Puissance to think he might have been involved in the Melbourne Cup had he run on the Tuesday. And Francis of Assisi won by about 300 metres. So it was hard to think he might not have played a role in the Melbourne Cup that year as well. So I think the Bendigo Cup is at least as potent as the Geelong Cup. And so head-to-head, we've got the head-to-head here.
Yes.
With the cup winners there, Bendigo v Geelong, and I'll side with Bendigo there at bigger prices. I think they should be the same price, and the vibeometer kicks in again. If I price them the same price, my vibe is still stronger Sea King. I
definitely agree. We'll touch on Sea King in a second, but head to head, I mean that's a great bet. Sea King $11.50 at the moment, Betfair. Onesmoothoperator at the $8.50 mark. So Sea King started a third of the price in an Ebor as well, and has come out and done nothing wrong since. Obviously won the Bendigo Cup, so I can't work out why Sea King's longer than Onesmoothoperator, to be honest, as well. So it's good to hear that from you. Let's move on to 14 before we get to Sea King, and that is Zardozi, the mare. Draw barrier 4 at Zini. Doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence, Adam, but you might be able to tell me otherwise. This mare, she was fantastic in the Empire Rose on Saturday. She poked through along the inside. Bart Cummings, all bar one of his winners ran on the didn't run on the Saturday. So followed a similar path to Bart Cummings has James here with Zardozi, and she was fantastic. Obviously ties in with Land Legend through the Metrop. On figures, Dave, we'll throw to you. Where's she at?
Yeah, I mean, I've lumped her in with Land Legend. I mean, that's a a lazy thing to sort of do, but I haven't
They're
actually...
separated by a nose 2 starts ago.
There's
Or?
24 runners. You've got to take some shortcuts.
You do. No, I mean, that's the way it's come out as well. They cross the line
Yep.
together. It's impossible not to lump them together. She's actually got a weight pull on him a little bit from those, and I just thought... I thought she was solid on Saturday. They weren't hitting the line in the Empire Rose, but she was.
As in the times weren't?
The race as a whole was going backwards to the post, but she was going above par, and so was Tissue. So she was fair in that race, and I think that gives her a pipe opener for Tuesday. And I've got her sort of 14s to 17 sort of price bracket. I'm probably not interested in playing, but again, if she were to win, I wouldn't be shocked, and I wouldn't be poo-pooing the race over
So
it.
a little bit shorter on your price than the market is. So if you've got her at 15, she's $18, but the Vibometer more against at that price.
I'm just neutral. I'd never call that an overlay or anything like that.
Yep, that's fair. Where's Atzini at?
Atzini is fine.
He's fine?
He's fine.
Okay. I was hoping you...
It was really funny when he won the Sydney Cup,
Yep.
Atzini, and they were talking about, geez, I hope he's spoken to someone during the week and he knows how to get around the 2 miles at Randwick. He's won a Goodwood Cup where they do a figure 8. I think he's going to be okay getting around the disc at Randwick.
Correct.
And he'll find his way around Flemington no troubles as well. So I'll tick, that's fine.
Okay, Barrier 4 tick.
And I think Zardozi is going to tick a lot of boxes for a lot of people. I think she's probably going to be too trendy, and so I'll be against.
Yep.
She's got the Cummings name. You just mentioned the Saturday backup with the big flashing light on. It was hard not to see that on Saturday and just think, oh, Cummings Saturday, look at that, smashing the line.
We've seen that in betting, I think.
Yeah.
And we continue to see that.
And I don't think she did anything there. You talked about the splits and things. I don't think she did anything there to necessarily enhance her chances. So, and I've lumped her together with Land Legend as well. So 22 to 1 for me, so she's now well and truly under the odds for my thinking. But I thought she's been disappointing in the Caulfield Cup, if I'm being brutally honest. So, and I don't want to put too much emphasis on that because, as I said, it was a very different scenario, the Caulfield Cup to the Melbourne Cup. But I think she's very trendy, and I can see all the appeal. I can see the Cummings name. I can see even the blue jacket.
Yep.
And she's an Oaks winner. So the old blokes who I put offside at the start of this, Cummings' name, back up from Saturday, and a VRC Oaks winner. So a carnival winner coming back 12 months later. She's got it all.
Yes, but you're laying her.
She's a throwback. I'm against.
Can we lay her in top 3, top 5, top 10 markets potentially?
Yeah, I think let's get against her in anywhere. Let's trick it up, however you want to play it. I think I want to be a sell. I want to be a sell. Wherever you want to pitch in, I want to be selling.
Yeah, lay a top 3 or 4, I'd say for sure.
There you go. There's a betting proposition for Zardozi. The team's against her. I can see her running well, but you make good cases. Probably under the odds there at $18 at the moment. Sea King, sounds like we're pretty keen on this galloper. Obviously, short SP in the Ebor. Fantastic at a Bendigo Cup. We've talked about how that ties into Onesmoothoperator. Where do you have the 2 Bendigo Cup and Geelong Cup ratings? They're similar?
Yeah, they were very similar, and we're at risk of agreeing on too many things today. But
shame.
Yeah, no, they popped out very similarly, and I like Sea King because of what he did in the Ebor. The race was well and truly over when he was running on, but he was held up. It was quite a tragic sort of thing for his finishing position. He probably would have placed, and so I would prefer him. I don't really think there's an edge in his price here at 10 to 1. Is that what he is?
Yeah, 11.50 Betfair at the moment.
Yeah, it's not really an appealing price to me. If he was 20 to 1, I would be backing him.
Yep.
I think, but yeah, I'm neutral on it.
Holly Doyle, barrier 1 interests me. She's shortest way home, obviously, but this horse isn't quick from the barriers. So just concerned a little bit from barrier 1. Holly Doyle, big field. She's a great jockey. I've got a lot of time for her. Very good jockey, but barrier 1 for a horse that could be slowly away. I'm a little scared could be buried defence with a jockey riding her first Melbourne Cup. That concerns me.
Yeah, it's a real rocks or diamonds gate, that one. So I think I'm thinking more like 20 to 1. As I said, I think the overall market probably too short. But yeah, real rocks or diamonds gate, which is probably a good thing if you're trying to win the race rather than just run well. So I think things could pan out really well for him from barrier 1 if he, as you say, steps well, gets into a good spot, and all the seams open at the right time for Holly. Then all of a sudden it could be the draw that wins him the race. We've made all the case about him and Onesmoothoperator and the similarities of their rating. And I think this is actually where the head-to-head markets are. They come to the fore, because I couldn't have him as short as he is in the overall betting at the moment. But I see an angle to back him anyway as a horse I like. And that is head-to-head against Onesmoothoperator. So it gives you a way to pitch in and say, okay, I don't think his price is too big in the overall market, but I do see a clash within that market that I don't like, an inefficiency, if you like, inside the market. So that's the way for me to get involved and play Sea King. I think that the interesting thing for me is as well, like Onesmoothoperator comes down here and wins at Geelong like he did, looked great and rated really well, and you sort of go, gee whiz, he's won the Geordie Melbourne Cup and he's had 1,000 spins on the Syntho. What is this? Whereas Sea King comes and runs a career best and wins the Bendigo Cup, and you think, yeah, he's got a pretty trendy profile. He's going the right way.
Yeah.
So that's a lot more appealing to me than the other way around. So yeah, there's the head-to-head markets gives you a way to pitch in.
Love that.
He looked home a long way out in the Bendigo Cup.
Didn't he?
Too, yeah. I mean, he only beat Star Vega and
The great Barclay Square.
Yeah, Barclay Square.
Off Coonji form. The
Your
very best
favourite
of
race.
form.
Yeah, your favourite race.
Real midweek handicap form.
Yeah. So we've got both of those two from the Geelong and Bendigo Cups longer in betting. They're too short for the moment, so we could potentially lay them. But we found an angle with Sea King there in the head-to-head market on Betfair. Couple of roughies next. We've got number 16, Valiant King, number 17, Fancy Man. Any chance for top 10 for either of these two?
No, I haven't thought a lot of Valiant. I mean, he hasn't really done anything this preparation off a long break. I think your angle there is, and then there's some very soft and easy negatives to pick him up on. But if you want to try and find the positive, I think your angle there is that Chris Waller's a really good trainer. I think that's your hope. He had a nice profile 12 months ago. He had the Vauban form 12 months ago. So, yeah, your angle there is that Chris can turn the key.
Why didn't Valiant King go to the Melbourne Cup last year? Ran 6th in a Caulfield Cup. I can't recall.
There's a story there, but I forget it as well.
Yeah, because obviously started $10 in a Caulfield Cup. Only won one race, Valiant King. That's a little concern. Barrier 22 as well. Got a lightweight though. Anything to add on him? Yes,
not
no?
really. I mean, the Caulfield Cup is the only thing I have to go off to say that he could possibly run inside the top 10. The figures from this prep are underwhelming. But like you say, the market thought enough of him to have him sort of $11 in that Caulfield Cup. I'm just looking back at that. So, 6th, beaten 5 lengths off without a fight, goes on to win the Melbourne Cup. There are angles if you want to play in some of these sort of top 10 markets.
Yep.
Confessional moment. I think I backed him in the Caulfield Cup actually at about $11. So
hardly beaten a run.
My view has changed dramatically in 12 months.
Fancy Man's number 17, drawn barrier 19. Ron Stewart on board, sticks with the horse from the Caulfield Cup. Ron Stewart started $61. Wasn't too bad in a Caulfield Cup. Ran 6th of 18. There, obviously beaten a decent margin by Duke Decessor and Buckaroo in second. Where's he at?
Yeah, I mean, some of these horses at the bottom, you look at a couple of numbers. I'm just looking at his Queensland Cup number, which I don't even want to quote because it's actually not that far below what I think the winning standard could be on Tuesday. But I couldn't possibly reference it. And I think some of these horses at the bottom of the weights are being propped up by their theoretical weight bonus. They probably couldn't run any faster with less weight. And so I have him as a long shot. I probably marked him north of 200 to 1, I would imagine. 200 to 1. So
there you go. So no bet there, maybe laying in a few markets there. Number 18, Interpretation. Interesting profile. Was good in the Geelong Cup. Made good ground there from the tail. Settled well back. He won the Bendigo Cup last year, obviously, before running 6th in the Melbourne Cup at $41. He was well backed in that Melbourne Cup too last year. Ran 6th, was a good run, only beaten 5.35. Where does his Bendigo Cup rating, Dave, compare to the Geelong Cup rating this year? Can he improve and go a few better than his 6th in the Melbourne Cup this year?
So his last year's Bendigo Cup is very similar to where he crossed the line in this year's Geelong Cup.
There you go.
Not to the winner. He was 2.3 lengths adrift of Onesmoothoperator.
The rating.
The rating that he ran in both of those races, I've got certainly within a pound of that. So, look, I've probably marked him around $26 here. I thought, I've just got a note here that he's just a smoky. He's already run top 6 in the Melbourne Cup.
Yep.
If you look at his prep ratings, this prep, he's actually pretty much improved every run. And then the last two have been solid jumps. And so, where do you plot the next number for this prep? I would probably just default to somewhere similar to where he ran in the Geelong Cup, and that's good enough to be top 10 for sure.
So bet in top 10 markets?
Yeah, I think so. It's a bet.
Yeah, I'm probably a little bit softer. I'm exactly the same. The Geelong run is exactly the same as his Bendigo lead up last year. I think you'd probably plot him to his Melbourne Cup run last year. It's his third go at the Cup.
And where does that have him? So he ran 6th in the Melbourne Cup, but if he runs to that rating, where have you got the race as a whole?
Yeah, so that's not going to cut it. He's going to have to, even though strong Melbourne Cup last year, weaker Melbourne Cup this year, even getting him to that number, I see he's about 20 to 1. So a little bit like Okita Soushi, there's a bit of Ma magic going on here. He sort of looks to me like he's been priced up as if he's going to run his Melbourne Cup race last year with interest. The Bart Cummings, his sectionals in the Bart Cummings were a little clue. So he does have that very Kieran Ma. He's just poking along and I thought, oh gee, poor old interpretation sacked it, he's gone. Sectionals gave you a little clue there in the Bart Cummings, and then back to the sort of platform run that we saw last year. So I see that angle, but he looks to me like he's been priced up as if he'll go better than last year by a little bit, and I think that's an optimistic take, so I'm probably on the soft side with him.
It's amazing that he was $21 in a Geelong Cup and he was $2.70 in a Bendigo Cup last year, and he's gone the same. I don't know what that means, but it's interesting pricing coming off, because he was obviously coming off a short SP into last year's Melbourne Cup where he started $41, and he's coming off a long SP this year, running a similar rating, and now he's half the price he was last year.
So he's 20 to 1 in the Bendigo Cup, where Onesmoothoperator is 10s, he gets bashed, and they both come here and they're 10s and 20s. So they're the same prices in the Melbourne Cup that they were in the Bendigo Cup. That's something...
I'm trying to work that out.
Could you say that both are going to drift on the day, and One Smooth might be 20 to 1, he might be 50 to 1 on the day?
Yeah, well, certainly if everyone sees things like me, and I think they should.
They should. They should. Yeah, fascinating market watch with interpretation. He should get out, but the Ma factor, if he is backed, I'll be wary and think if he starts $15, I'm scared of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm scared of him. So, interesting market.
But you're a
watch
brave
there.
guy, so you grit your teeth and you bet through it anyway.
Yeah,
right?
you do, and then you leave Flemington with your tail between your legs. Manzoice, number 19. Any hope? Not good enough in a Moonee Valley Cup. Not good enough in a Bart Cummings. Can he improve into some sort of top 10 calculations?
No, not top 10 for me. I'll be losing badly if he wins.
He's won.
He'll be a strip out.
That's fair. He couldn't win a Wyong Cup. He's won 2 from 21.
What's your best rating from the last 11 from him? Because mine is running 5th to the Serpent.
Oh,
that doesn't scream I'm going to win the Melbourne Cup. That's, I think, the best rating I've got. There's been signs every now and then, but it hasn't been signs.
So how was he $90? It could be 200s here.
I probably marked him that. Yeah.
So you're laying we could actually lay and bet back. Expect Manzoice to drift there at the 90s. So if you get matched at 90s, lay off later and trade a little bit there. You got an answer for us on that, or
yeah? My best rating for him in the last 10 in front of me.
There.
No, that's all right. I have got him at several lengths off the winning standard here, but I've actually got his 1800 second to Golden Path, one of his better ratings. Second to Post Impressionist. That race has a stink on it. That I don't know that I would reference that number because Post Impressionist has done nothing since. So crossed the line with floating. In Sydney, who's a wet track at that. I
had his Slither a Serpentine run even a little bit better than that one, so there you go. But none of them are in the Melbourne Cup conversation.
I'm surprised mostly Cloudy. We move on to number 20. I'm surprised he's actually longer than Manzoice. He gets a couple of interesting gear changes, blinkers off, nose roll on first time, 50 kilos, Karis Teton on board. He's not exactly screaming, I'm going to win a Melbourne Cup, but where's he at?
Yeah, I mean, he's not the worst hundreds pop that you've ever seen in a Melbourne Cup. I would agree,
yeah.
He again is a 2-miler. I actually thought in some of those winter races, and he raced over sort of 2400, 2500 a few times, and he just wanted further, in those races. And look, he's not in the conversation seriously here at all, but I think I probably marked him 50s or something like that, and if he was 200 to 1 on Betfair, I could probably have $5 on him.
I think he's a chance for a top 10 market easy. He savaged the line. Started 225 in a Brisbane Cup, so he was right in the market in a Brisbane Cup over 3,200 metres. He was fantastic in the Andrew Ramsden behind the map prior to that. I think that can get him in a top 10 here. Adam?
Yeah, he's one of those sort of 100 to 1 shots, if you like, we're not going to be completely dismissive of. He's sort of, if he's 80s, 100s, whatever, I'm not good enough to split 0.5%. But if he's something like that, he actually is, as opposed to those ones where you go, I like his 80s, we think he should be 250s. No, I don't think that. I think he's genuinely there. Although I hold a massive grudge against this horse for losing. I think it was the Flemington Cup, the Dean Lester Cup. He ran second in, and he had a mortgage on it, and he couldn't knock it off. And he's, I've basically held a massive grudge against him since then. So I struggle to say anything positive about Mostly Cloudy. I think that was 18 months ago, but I'm salty.
hold a grudge. Jeez, don't get on Adam's bad side. He's got SPs around Duke DeSessa and Young Werther from 2,000 metres at Caulfield back in August. Like, he's not hopeless, and I actually think he's a top 10 chance for me, and I'd like to have I'll try and organise this, a couple of head-to-heads, maybe him against Manzoice and back mostly Cloudy there, so we'll see how we go.
The people demand more head-to-head markets.
We'll do that. I'll have a chat to the people at Betfair. Let's move on. A few runners to go. Number 21, Positivity. She's a mare. Looked like she was going to race into calculations off a naturalism win, but she's been average since. Where's she at, Adam?
Yeah, so you'd have to. We could probably move through fairly quickly because I don't think she's well named. I'm struggling to find the
negativity.
As you say, there was a platform at that point, but she's gone the wrong way, and now it's a leap of faith to get her back to that form.
Yep.
Let alone improve on it, which she'd need to do to win. So very hard to see how if she ran to the winning standard here and won the race, you'd be fairly staggered.
There you go. Anything to add?
Yeah, a long way off. And look, I think she won a slowly run race and got the bob, didn't she, this prep, and which was fantastic for her. But it's a long way out of the frame.
St George, number 22, lightly raced horse, Tyler Schiller on board, barrier 9. Lightweight, good barrier, good trainer, lightly raced horse. Average in a Moonee Valley Cup, but not the worst. St George, anything else?
The thing to like about St George is, well, for starters, he showed a lot of talent very quickly.
Yes.
So came down here, but he obviously had the 415-day break, so setback issues. And now he looks very much like a Mar project horse. He's going to blow everyone out of a quaddie one day.
Hope it's not.
It does feel like this is probably It does feel like this is probably too soon. But of all these Kieran Maher ones, I'm probably more interested in his upside than the more exposed ones, like your interpretations and your Okita Soushis. He's got form against good horses back in the UK. That there's plenty of little clues in there, including clues that translate to here. A bit of Tower of London, which ties to Vauban. There's a little bit of we raced Gregory, which puts him sort of a little bit ahead of Land Legend at the time. In fact, a good bit ahead of Land Legend, and even a bit of. So there's a lot of that sort of form in there.
Right.
Lots of good bits of form. There's a bit of Circle of Fire in there as well. Which,
yep.
He's got that sort of talent. As I said, he's got the real look now of a Mar project horse. He hasn't had a lot of strong paces to run up to until last start, and he was okay. I think he also has some feed issues at the moment. I see the bar plates are on. So yeah, I think he's. It might not be now. There's something in there,
right?
But he's probably maybe in 12 months' time we'll be back here, and he'll be the Okita Soushi of 2025.
Is he a market watch then for him?
He is a little bit, yeah. It's funny seeing the other two sort of being very firm the couple of days out, sort of thing. He's the horse I'd be more frightened of if he was really well backed, because I know somewhere in there there's an engine if they can get it right.
Yeah, I mean, that was my angle, the bar plates front and hind. It's nothing. It's something you don't want to see as a punter. And you look at the numbers that he's doing. They're like some of these other roughies. They're down below the winning standard. But if he's got feet issues, no feet, no horse, maybe he has 3 or 4 more lengths of ability than his ratings. And I wouldn't forecast him this prep. I think if they can get his feet right.
Twitter vets here, are we?
Yes, correct. Number 23, we're up to the map. Won her way into this race by winning the Andrew Ramsden. Came from well back there. Was 10th at the 400. She started favourite. She was too good for them there in the Ramsden. Hasn't exactly set the world on fire. Was well beaten in a naturalism prior to running 6th in a Geelong Cup. Dave, can she replicate that Ramsden form and put herself into the picture somewhere?
I would be surprised. Yep. She can probably replicate that form, but whether that form is...
That's still not good enough?
No, it's not. No.
There you go.
Now, I think she's very much on track to replicate that form, but yeah, it's short of this. Although I do think the connections would probably be watching this. Oh, I hope they're watching this. I assume they're watching this.
They will be, yeah.
They'd be watching thinking, wow, you guys all sit here and you go, gee, mostly Cloudy's a good chance, and we beat him. We beat him fair and square to get our ticket to this race. So they could hang their hat on that, but mostly Cloudy has shown form a little bit ahead of that. And I think she'll peak, and I think that'll come up short of even the top 10.
So laying her in top 10 markets from a tricky barrier there. Rachel King got her...
Respectfully laying.
Respectfully laying.
Right.
What a story it'd be.
That's good from you. Yeah, it would be a good story for Dan Clark and McGilvray. Number 24, we move on to Trust in You. Started in the market last start behind Athabascan, but doesn't seem to be going well enough to contest a Melbourne Cup and be competitive. Lay in top 10 markets for me. Trust in You. Dave?
Yeah, I think lay in top 10 for sure. Look, ran okay in the Metro, and then into the St Ledger, I sort of thought, well, that Metrop form probably stacks up here, and I really didn't like. Trying to think who the St Ledger fave was. Was it another Waller horse?
Wycliffe, was it?
No, it was Etna Rosso.
It was Etna Rosso, that's right. And didn't like Etna Rosso, and I actually thought Trust in You was the one that could put his hand up in that race and didn't. That's a bridge too far.
I backed Trust in You at 100s in that Metrop each way, and still filthy.
Remains salty.
He ran fourth bet in a nose. Lucky I backed the winner, because I backed Land Legend. If Zardozi won the protest and I've run fourth, I got $30 to place and Trust in You in the Metro. I would have been sick. He'd need to improve. Adam?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, maybe the eyes guys might watch that Metrop and think he ran well, and Zardozi and Land Legend are in the conversation, so why not him? But the answer to why not him is because he's never run better than that, and he won't here.
There you go. Well, that's the 24 runners covered for the Melbourne Cup. I'm just going to go through the 6 head-to-head markets, and I'm going to get one answer from you on both of those. We'll start with AVB 1, Vauban versus Buckaroo. Adam?
Vibometer swings me to Vauban.
Yep.
Vauban for me.
Vauban for me as well. Vauban Absurde seems a pretty easy one.
10's on Vauban. I'm aggressively Vauban.
Big Vauban.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't be quite that aggressive, but you've got to have a position, and I would definitely be Vauban as well. Onesmoothoperator
versus Sea King. That's AVB 3 at Betfair. What do we make of these two?
Yeah, I've got an angle here, and that's my way into Sea King. I think, as I said, I can find an inefficiency in the market, if not in the overall market. So Sea King there for me.
Dead heat.
Dead heat?
Yeah,
can't split them.
I can't really split them. Yeah.
Your ratings are very similar through those cup wins?
Identical, and look, I probably take Adam's advice and would think Sea King.
Put the Vibometer in play.
Right.
Yes, get it up. I'm with Sea King there as well, but Barrier 1 scares me. Kovalica versus Land Legend. I don't like either of these two. I'm leaning the way of Land Legend. Hopefully Kovalica doesn't run top 10.
Well, if Kovalica wins the Melbourne Cup, it's impossible for him to be beaten in the head-to-head.
Have you got him winning the Melbourne Cup?
He's got to be a good chance.
Oh, so Kovalica in the head-to-head. We'll get to your bets in a minute.
I'll be backing both in the race. I've already backed Land Legend, and I will be backing Kovalica. So, it would be bittersweet, but I'll go Kovalica to nudge out Land Legend.
Zardozi versus Interpretation. I keep saying Interpretation versus Zardozi there. That's AVB 5.
Yeah, is there any liquidity in there? I made Zardozi, I think, $1.58.
Ooh,
to get exact.
We'll get that.
So I think I'd be Zardozi in that little head-to-head. As I said, Interpretation seems very trendy to me.
Yeah, but you think Zardozi's trendy as well?
It's a trendy off, actually. That should be the name of that head-to-head.
It is. The trendy horses.
I'll take the other side of that. I reckon
Interpretation?
Yeah, Interpretation's got the runs on the board in the Melbourne Cup.
You think Interpretation will run a solid race, whereas Zardozi might be the question mark?
She wouldn't surprise me, but I think of the two to completely punch her could be Zardozi.
Fair enough. Circle of Fire versus Okita Soushi, the one we've all been waiting for.
Ma out of form. What a recipe.
Correct.
Circle of Fire for me.
Circle of Fire.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I like that. I might have a play there with Circle of Fire. All right, Adam, we'll get to your top 4 before we get to your betting strategies. Have you got your top 4? I think I know who you're with on top.
So, top 4 by the ratings.
Yes.
I have to stick to the numbers. So, Buckaroo is the top on the ratings.
Really?
Just ahead of Vauban. I've priced them up the same, and the Vibometer swings me to Vauban on top, betting-wise. But then Kovalica, there he is, sliding into the trendy alternative to the top 2 slot for me. And then on the ratings, Warp Speed, I've actually got a pound ahead of the Geelong and Bendigo Cup winners. So that's Warp Speed, I think, is a... as I said, you've got to be very forgiving. But there's enough there for me to think, yeah, why not be forgiving? So they might be underselling him a little bit. So if we can... I'm talking about peak ratings here, but why not? Why not Warp Speed? Very different scenario for him.
So what's the bet with Warp Speed?
I think we'll plug him in as, well... Any of those top markets, I suppose, but top 10 seems the easiest way for me to get a cheap return.
Nice.
All about the strike rate here.
I like that. So just repeat your top 4.
Buckaroo, Vauban, Kovalica, Warp Speed.
There you go. Dave?
Yes, well, I'll go Vauban, Buckaroo, Kovalica and Sea King.
Nice. I've got Vauban on top. I like the stablemate. I think Willie Mullins can win it. I think they should be clearly right in the mix. But I tend to agree. I think Vauban should be shorter than the stablemate Absurde. They're probably a bit close at the moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if Absurde drifts a little bit, and I'm keen to back him. Your bets. I'll start with you, Dave.
Yeah, so I've already backed Land Legend, so I'm on there. I will be backing Kovalica tomorrow at Call of the Card, I think, and Vauban.
What price are you looking for Kovalica tomorrow at Call of the Card?
Depends on who's listening. 50 to 1 would be great.
Okay.
No, look, he's 23 best price on the corporates at the moment. I would like to see 26 on the day. That'd be nice.
Fingers crossed. You can always head over to Betfair and have a bet. Adam, your bets.
Bets for me. So as I said, the Vibometer tips me. So Vauban is my bet at the front of the market. I'm going to back Kovalica. I think he's very nice edge there at 25 to 1. As I said, I've got him sliding into the trendy alternative slot. So very much in his camp. Warp Speed, top 10 markets, that sort of thing. I think we can back that. We can back that Caulfield run to be completely non-representative of Warp Speed and back him off the Japanese Warp Speed. And this is probably one of the first times we've ever had a chance to back a Japanese horse who's being underrated by the market here.
It's true.
I mean, look at the betting for Ascoli Pacino in the Golden Eagle.
Oh, hammered.
Well, who thought she was that good? I mean, I'm a big fan, but goodness me, he's struggling to get 2 to 1 on the fair at the death.
Morera, White Barrier, and they've smashed it.
Yeah, that could be good signs for Buckaroo.
Was the
Or Buckaroo layers, anyway.
Was the time insane in Japan?
Not insane, no. She ran really good time
Yeah.
figures, and she was obviously a key chance in the Golden Eagle and probably a good favourite. I mean, I know this is hindsight Harry stuff now, but gee whiz, someone had a very high opinion of that form. Someone with deep pockets, deeper than mine.
The big players definitely dived in late.
Yeah, whereas they probably won't with Warp Speed because we've had a good look at him here and we saw nothing to like.
Yep.
So you might get a very rare opportunity to back a Japanese runner that's being undersold based on his peak Japanese ratings. And the other bet for me was Sea King against Onesmoothoperator. I like these head-to-head markets. I think they're a good way to play the game, and I think that's a good chance for me to back Sea King.
Love that. So I'm with Vauban on top. I'll save Absurde. I don't want to lose if he wins. And I agree, Warp Speed, top 10 market, best chance, best overlay for me. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if he can win, but I just think he'll be in the right spot, firm track. He'll stay all day, so he'll just put himself in the race and stay there, I think.
Does Billy Slater speak Japanese? That'll test the post-race interviews.
That's very, very true. Have we got any other... I actually just want to ask you, you're both ratings guys. Have you got a rating or a figure for a couple of horses that you might see the big data teams come forward late? You mentioned the favourite in the Golden Eagle on Saturday, and they just came for the Japanese runner. Is there anything there that you think the market will gravitate to? How are you thinking the market will shape at the moment? Question without notice.
Yeah, that is a good question. Which is the horse with an old figure or something
Or
like
do
that?
they come for Absurde, or do they come for Vauban?
I think they'll smash Vauban on the day this year.
Yeah, it's possible. That's probably true, actually. I'm Rolodexing through, trying to think which of these horses does have a buried rating that we're sort of choosing to ignore.
Vauban does seem a big price now, especially off what he did last year. He came into the race, he was well backed.
Races that you could sort of, we're talking about Ascoli Pacino, like who's put this massive figure on this with deep pockets. Races that you could interpret different ways are Vauban's last start to some extent against a really good horse in Kyprios. If your database had this great figure on Kyprios, you can sort of, you might get a bit of toe along. The other one is the day, which saw him start favourite last year, the Ascot win where he hammered Absurde doing cartwheels and was backed off the boards to jump even money, which I think was the shortest price favourite in a handicap at Royal Ascot in 100 years or something like that, and won a handicap by the widest margin in over 100 years. So there are ways to have a very positive interpretation of that rating as well. So if you're still lingering on that figure and you sort of got very excited with it and it got sort of outside the range of your models and blew them up a little bit, then maybe that is the rating lurking in the race that could be way better than rated.
I think now's the time to back him. I tend to agree with you, Dave. I think you back him now because a lot of people at the moment, a lot of the Australian punters before the big guys have jumped in. They remember what happened last year. Yeah, he's new. He hasn't been seen. He's off, and I think they'll come for him. You agree?
Oh, and they love that situation. I mean, how good? It's not a last start failure, but it's a last start Australian failure, and that's a great scenario for a punter that takes it on trust. So
yeah, if you've got no overseas data, you're looking at it thinking, who's this Willie Mullins? His strike rate in Australia. 0 from 8 in the cup like this.
And they'll remember it because they backed him last year or they forgot to back him. What's really interesting as well with the Betfair market, because we're a global market, you wake up overnight when the UK's been awake and they're all betting these UK runners and you see them fluctuate via sleeping patterns. So when we're awake, Vauban might drift. When we go to bed, we wake up in the morning, the internationals might be firmer.
So stay up is what you're saying.
Stay up, or
Don't go to
just
sleep.
set your odds and you can trade a little bit heading into the Cup. But Gents, thanks for joining us. Just before we go, how can they find out about what you do? Dave, if they've liked your work, you want to give yourself a plug?
Yeah, I'll never one to give myself a plug, but
I'll give you a plug.
But here goes.
Here's my speech. No, it's a great service, Form King. Where can they find you?
Come to formking.com.au. It's a new database. It's Australia only at the moment for the ratings, but I will expand eventually. And I'm very excited about it.
Great products. We've seen some worms. The worm of the week is fantastic. Your ratings are fantastic. It's a really good product. So,
Thanks.
Fantastic work from you, Adam. Representing Racing and Sports. You got an
Sports.
elevator pitch for Racing and Sports.
RacingandSports.com. Yeah,
you do it all at Racing and Sports.
We do it all at
You
Racing
do,
and
actually.
Sports, don't we? Yeah, it's what a great company. And you can hear me on the Punter's Preamble, Racing and Sports' award-winning podcast. Granted, it was my own awards
Yeah,
ceremony.
I was going to say, who gave us the awards?
We won Best Racing Podcast in the world.
According to...
Just beat this one, actually.
Yes, correct.
Runner-up. So yeah, you can catch me on the Punters Preamble and racingandsports.com. Form, fun,
Data.
data.
Do everything.
We do it all.
Gents, it's been an absolute pleasure. Good luck. I think we're all backing the favourite there in Vauban, but it's going to be a great Melbourne Cup. Stuff the haters. It is a great race, and I can't wait for it. Absolute pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks for joining us on Layback with Betfair Melbourne Cup special.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.